Presenting today is Debbie Indihar Giordano from Master Brokers. She is a mother of 4 children and 4 grandchildren and a 60-year resident of Milpitas. Debbie is well rooted in our community, having attended Spangler Elementary, Russell, and Samuel Eyre High School, class of 73. She's a business owner for over 40 years as a realtor broker in Milpitas. She is a founder and owner of Master Brokers, selected one of the best real estate companies in 2013 in Milpitas. She received numerous nationwide production awards. She's also a councilwoman, served 12 years as the Milpitas City Council from 2004 to 2016. Debbie had previously served 7 years on the city's planning commission, and she chaired the community advisory commission as well. Welcome, Debbie Indihar Giordano.
Oh, thank you, Christine. Yes. Hi.
So Debbie, you, the topic today is selling a home today is a good idea. And why is selling a home today a good idea?
Okay, well, generally in the past, the best time to sell is when inventory is low. So it's still a basic supply and demand issue in terms of housing. And right now the inventory is low, so that brings a fair and good price for a seller. Also, the interesting thing that's happened this year, due to COVID and some financial issues, the interest rates have plunged very low for buyers. So the affordability is increased and you have more buyers being able to afford to buy a home. So that is a welcome thing for a seller to have at this time. And then due to COVID-19, a lot of the buyers want to work at home and looking for that work in-house environment. And also owning a home is critical for them because they have to, have that place to work from home, not in addition to just raising the family. So the fourth reason now is a good time to sell is Milpitas is a wonderful, desirable community. We've got great schools. In fact, they're award-winning schools. In the past, buyers were seeking out better schools in the Cupertino, the Saratoga, and the Los Gatos areas, and they were priced out. So they've returned to Milpitas, and we have schools that just rival those other schools in this particular area. So that's a real big plus. In fact, most buyers are looking for schools right now. So coupled with all those 4 factors is a perfect storm for a seller, and their prices are getting well beyond expectations and asking prices. And I'll talk about that in the next topic that you've got in terms of preparation and what can a seller expect. Yeah.
So tell me about the home selling process. What would a seller expect from the whole process?
Okay. Well, after 42 years in the industry, nothing in that respect has changed much. Preparation is the key. That is the ultimate key in getting the optimum sales price. So I ask sellers to declutter or possibly vacate the homes. And a lot of the sellers are moving out and allowing me to have a vacant home to list and sell. So that's important. Paint, repairs, landscaping in the front yard. And I'll talk about a success story there. Those are important things. Staging for ultimate appeal that allows the buyer to come in and see the home the way, the way they can live in it and give them those great ideas. So staging is important. We'll talk about that a little later too. And professional photos. I do have aerial photography professionally done, virtual tours, because everything is done online now. And so buyers are looking online and looking for that. And then I set an offer deadline. What that does is it generates buyers to come forward and make their offer at a certain deadline, and they actually bid against one another. Not like an auction, but at least the offers are due at a certain date, and they know that they're competing. A lot of the agents ask me how many offers are on the table and what the competition looks like. So I generate all that interest to get the sellers the most. So let me tell you about 3 quick success stories. The one on Fontainebleau, these are all, by the way, in Milpitas. Fontainebleau seller came to me. It's a Chappelle home, 1-story, beautiful home. They had rented it for like 25 years. And so when the renter moved out, they renovated the complete home. And they were on the fence whether to sell or re-rent the home. So they decided to sell. When I came in, there was nothing left to do other than staging and do the front yard landscaping. And I got $160,000 over list on that price. It went from a 1.38 million to 1.550, and the factors were the extensive remodeling that was done, and it was just beautiful. So the buyer that lended its appeal. And then the Seacliff Drive home was a little different. They had started some remodeling 3 years ago and didn't complete it. The yards were bad. They needed laminate flooring, and a lot of the completion needed to be done. So we ended up putting about $30,000 into that home, but they got $70,000 over the list price. So that was really cool. And then the Moonbeam home, it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, completely original. And we decided to sell as is. So I priced it at $899,000 without one thing being done to that home. I staged it. It was vacant. I staged it up. They got $90,000 over the list. So if we had done the repairs and the remodeling, they may have only recouped just those costs. So what I'm trying to say is that each home is a different, it's on a case-by-case basis on what needs to be done. And I'll take a look at that, and we can make that decision if we need to remodel or sell as is and not put any money into it. So that it can work either way. Mm-hmm.
Okay, we can move on. Why is it good to move into this community? Could you talk about the amenities?
Yeah, that's really exciting to talk about Milpitas. It's I just talked about earlier about the schools. They're top rated. They're in the 9s and 10s, and we've got amazing schools here. So that's one reason why people are moving in an amenity in Milpitas. Also, Milpitas is central in the community for commuting. There for a while before COVID, workers were commuting into their offices, and Milpitas was very central to 880, 680, Highway 237, Montague Expressway. So the commuting factor was important. But now, with the opening of BART, we have a beautiful Milpitas Transit Center. You've got VTA, BART, and light rail all centered in near the Great Mall. So that has brought in a wonderful interest in Milpitas for buyers to be able to commute out, especially as the time comes. I think next year more restrictions will be loosened up, and you'll see workers, some of them going back into the workplace. And we have convenient shopping. We have a great mall. Like I said, we had Trader Joe's that just came in. Obviously, they think that this is a great community to have such a top rated grocery store, in our community. So that's kind of exciting. We hadn't had that before. And then we have great city services. The years I spent on the city council, we got to approve the police and the fire. We have one of the lowest response times, which you want in a community in Santa Clara County. In the police department, it's less than 3 minutes, and the fire department is less than 5 minutes. So that's a really nice amenity for the community. And of course, we have great services. We have a wonderful library. It's an award-winning statewide library, and then the senior center, and along with other services that the city of Milpitas offers to its residents.
And if the audience would like to ask some questions, feel free as we go along to the topics.
Sure. Yeah, Debbie, you did mention that one of your clients decided to sell their home after 25 years of renting. So can you tell us a little bit about the tax implications, if you will? If somebody is renting, it becomes an investment property, and then they list the home with you because they decided to sell.
Right. Right. Well, of course, I'm hesitant. I don't give tax advice to any of my clients, and I try and recommend that they go see a tax professional to get that advice. But what they'll end up having to do is recapture depreciation. There'll be some issues that'll be involved in the sale. And if they don't do what's called a 1031 tax deferred exchange, where they can exchange out one rental property for another rental property, which many of my clients do. But if in this case, the Fontainebleau property, they ended up taking cash. They're retired. They want to travel. They want to do some things. And so they're in fact, Indu, she said right away when she gave me the keys to the house on the day of closing, she says, well, now we're on our way to our tax person to see how much money we owe the government. So a lot of folks they're just paying the taxes. And then the tax rate is lowered with this current administration. They've lowered all the taxes, but I don't know how that will affect after the election. So. Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's good to know for people who have investment property in Milpitas. Another question I have is, I know Milpitas is a fantastic community. So for people moving in, especially from East Coast, because there are still a lot of tech jobs here in the Valley. In fact, I think tech companies are actually hiring right now. So some of those people moving into Silicon Valley who know nothing about the Bay Area, Milpitas is a fantastic community to raise children. Like you said, the schools are fantastic. What about hospitals? Is there any hospital close by here in this community?
On Main Street across from the library, there is a large county medical center. That would be the nearest thing that we have in Milpitas. And we do, Kaiser has some medical offices on South Milpitas Boulevard and also on Calaveras. I know that there's those there. But generally a large hospital, you need to go into San Jose, Fremont, or Santa Clara for a large, for a hospital institute. We haven't come that far in Milpitas to have its own hospital.
All right, that's really good to know. I do know a lot of people are moving in from the Boston area here to the Bay Area because of all the tech affiliation here, because Boston area also is tech oriented and there are many companies, starting companies here. So from a demographic point of view, Milpitas as this beautiful city, what are the demographics? What kind of people live there?
Well, actually, it's funny you ask. A few years ago, we in Milpitas were listed as the third most diverse community in the whole of the United States. I think we have up to 80 dialects right now in our city. When they put out the voter guides, there's tremendous amount of dialects. So we are completely diverse. But I would say that of just lately, the last maybe 2 to 5 years, what I've experienced, and I know other realtors that work, we have a breakfast meeting weekly of the group of realtors in the North Valley, Milpitas area that we get together and share what's been going on in the market. And the buyers are high tech. They're the ones that are putting $300,000, $400,000, $500,000 down. The buyer in Fontainebleau put $1 million cash down, and they're getting those from stock options from the high tech, the Cisco's, Facebook, Google, Apple. Those employees are really driving the market here, and that will drive more the changing of demographics due to that subset of buyers that are coming in, and the retirees, the sellers that are moving out to areas out of the state like Texas, Arizona, Idaho, up north. So you are seeing a changing in the demographics, and probably in the next 3 to 5 years, that will be even more so. Mm-hmm.
That's great. So you would say that the population of Milpitas was mostly in their 40s, 30s, 40s age group?
I'd say 30s and 40s are. You see all that new building that's going on there,
all right,
the transit center, And that's attracting a lot of the 30s and 20s and 30s. Mhm.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, we're seeing a new wave of new younger generation coming in.
Yeah, that's very nice.
For the sellers in the area, could we touch on explaining how the staging and its benefits for the homeowner
Sure.
are like for them?
Sure. I that's the first thing I recommend. Whether they decide to live in the house while we're selling, which most do not, most leave, or whether it's vacant. In either capacity, I go ahead and stage the home. And I tell the sellers that it creates an environment where the buyers want to come in and live there. They can actually see themselves there. I stage for dining areas, whether it be a formal dining area or an informal dining area. I add mirrors for to bring a lot of light into the home. I add extra lighting if the home is particularly dark. We have the stager add a lot of extra lighting. We do color coordinating. My stager's really an expert at this, is bringing all the colors throughout the house. So the house sort of blends. It doesn't have, each room is not different from the other. There's a flow, that she calls it a flow, that takes place, and it really does. I stage for a home office. That's now become really key. When I usually take a 4-bedroom home, I always stage one of the rooms as a home office. And even a 3-bedroom home, we're starting to stage for an office. And then stage outdoors, put patio furniture in, front door, some pottery with artificial flowers to make it cheerful coming in. And, I think staging really yields a better price for the seller. I don't know how it works, but more buyers are interested and they get very excited about wanting to be into the home. And, the home buying experience is very emotional. And so it creates that emotion. Mm-hmm.
Here's $1 million question. I don't know if you can answer. I know it's crystal ball question. What do you think? I know Bay Area prices, especially people coming from outside the Bay Area. I work with a lot of relocation specialists who bring in people into the Valley, and the prices. Do you think it will go down after the election?
That is the $1 million question. I'll turn this off. Sorry about that. I didn't have that off. I'm going to have to say no matter how the election comes out, whether it's a Republican or Democrat that wins. I think that we're in a perfect storm here still for the next easily 3 to 5 years. The demand is high. Buyers are still affording to be able to buy the homes. Interest rates, I heard, are supposed to stay low for the next 3 to 5 years. So that should drive buyers' affordability and keep that. If you own a home, a single family detached home with a yard, we're not building any more of those. You have a unique product. And when you have a unique product, the price ends up going up in that. So if it's a condo, we've built a lot of condos in Milpitas, a lot of new condos. So that's going to keep the price pretty level. But a single family detached home with a yard, which is what the ultimate buyer wants, because they have dogs or cats and they've got kids and they want to be able to have that white picket fence around the front yard and call it their home. Those are very rare. And those are the homes that are going to continue to go up in value. So I think you need to distinguish what type of housing unit it is, if it's a condo versus a single family detached home. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Great. Good to know.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all the questions that are prepared for the presentation. And if you have any more questions, feel free to contact Debbie. What's your contact information?
Oh, it's 408-858-5771. That's seller text.